Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're putting on our solution architect hats to tackle a massive problem in Oracle Fusion implementations. And it's actually not about how to build things, it's about having the discipline to know what you absolutely shouldn't build. If you've ever felt the sting of technical debt, where a so-called quick-win custom app today turns into a localized nightmare of patching and maintenance tomorrow, well, you're in exactly the right place. We're going to dive deep into the shadow cost of bad architectural decisions. Let's get into it. We're drawing our blueprint today straight from the experts over at Biz Insight Consulting. They've put together this phenomenal breakdown of a critical architectural pivot, taking a really hard look at when to simply walk away from custom Apex development. Look, Apex is a fantastic, rapid development tool, and developers absolutely love it for a reason. It's fast, it's flexible, and it gets immediate results. But using it as a golden hammer for every single Fusion requirement, that's a one-way ticket to a bloated, unmanageable architecture that's going to haunt your IT department for years. I literally love this quote from the source material. The measure of good solution architecture isn't how often you apply your preferred tool, it's how clearly you know when not to. It just perfectly frames our entire discussion today. True architectural mastery is knowing exactly when to say no to your favorite tools. Stakeholders often push for the tools they know, developers push for the platforms they enjoy using, but as the architect, your job is to protect the long-term health of the system. The best solution architects apply the right tool, not just the one they know best. Okay, so here's our agenda for the explainer. 1. The solution architect's dilemma. 2. Trap 1. Simple UI tweaks. 3. Trap 2. Internal fusion processes. 4. Trap 3. Fake UI problems. 5. The tool selection framework. And finally, 6, avoiding future technical debt.
All right, Section 1, the solution architect's dilemma and the trap of overengineering. Let's dive right in and establish the primary antagonist of our story here, the overwhelming temptation to overengineer. Because when you have a powerful hammer like Oracle Apex, suddenly every single requirement starts to look like a custom-coded nail.
The truth is, reaching for a custom Apex app when you don't actually need it doesn't just waste your initial build time. It creates a massive parallel universe of maintenance. Suddenly, you aren't just managing Fusion anymore. You're managing a totally separate deployment pipeline, you're handling complex single sign-on integrations, worrying about separate data models, and honestly just praying nothing breaks during the quarterly Oracle patch cycle. That is the very definition of overengineering, and it's exactly how crushing technical debt is born. You build it once, but man, you pay for it every single month for the rest of the application's lifecycle. Moving to Section 2, trap number 1, simple UI tweaks and modifying existing screens. Let's look at a scenario that happens on almost every single implementation project. A user asks for a simple extra field on a purchase order screen, or maybe just a tweaked validation message, or hiding a few irrelevant fields to reduce training confusion. Sounds simple enough, right? Well, there is a massive difference between our developer instinct and the architectural reality here. Your instinct, especially if you love tightly controlled environments, might be to code a fresh, plain Apex screen to entirely bypass the standard UI. But the reality? These are minor configuration changes. Building an Apex lab here means you're building a shadow application just to solve something the platform natively does out of the box. You're taking on the burden of a full custom application just to move a couple of fields around. It's crazy. As an architect, your mandate is to keep modifications within the standard Fusion boundaries to avoid that compounding debt. You've got native tools designed exactly for this. Use Page Composer for your layouts, use Application Composer for custom objects and fields, rely on sandboxes to make sure you don't break production during testing. And hey, if you genuinely need lightweight logic that stays within the Fusion security model and standard look and feel, Visual Builder Studio is Oracle's supported path. Commit to these native tools in your professional tool belt, and you immediately eliminate the debt of separate custom deployments. Okay, on to Section 3. Trap number 2, internal Fusion processes, like workflows and reporting. Let's investigate what happens when a team wants complex approval routing across multiple modules, or specialized report generation that lives entirely within Fusion, or what happens when a business event just needs to trigger a downstream record update. The instinct here is so often to just build an Apex app to sit on top of everything and act as this external orchestrator. But we've got to look at the reality of the data flow. If the data originates in Fusion and its final destination is in Fusion, inserting Apex creates a totally unnecessary high-maintenance layer. You're pulling data out, processing it, and shoving it back in. If no human needs to interact with a custom interface outside standard bounds, you simply shouldn't build one. So the crucial point here is to leverage the right native tools for internal processes. Use Fusion's native BPM for human approval routing. Why? Because it maintains full integration with Fusion's audit trails and security models, something you instantly lose the second you extract data to an external custom app. And for background orchestrations, just use Oracle Integration Cloud. OIC's scheduled integrations handle the heavy batch processing perfectly, while event-driven integrations catch those real-time business reactions natively. Keep the architecture natively contained and keep it clean.
Next up, Section 4. Trop number 3. Fake UI problems, or as I like to call it, the masquerade. This brings us to perhaps the most insidious trap of them all, an integration issue wearing a really clever disguise as a UI problem. This happens constantly, and it is a huge source of hidden technical debt. Picture this scenario. Your users are doing the exact same manual data entry every single day. Maybe they're downloading a CSV from a vendor and manually copying data between two systems. The instinct is to be helpful, right? To say, hey, let's build a nice Apex dashboard to make this data entry easier and faster. But architecturally, this isn't a UI problem at all. Building a custom Apex button here just makes a fundamentally broken manual process slightly more comfortable. You're investing valuable development budget into standardizing a bad habit. As a solution architect, before you scope any custom UI, you've got to play detective. You have to stop the momentum of the project and ask this one absolutely critical question. Should a person be doing this at all? If they're just checking a report and triggering the exact same action every single day, with absolutely zero variation or complex decision-making, the answer is a resounding no. And if the answer is no, you need to stop designing screens immediately. Your job as a solution architect isn't just to build prettier forms. Your job is to eliminate inefficiencies at the root cause. Build an OIC integration, automate the data flow so the human doesn't even have to be in the loop. That completely negates the need for a user interface in the first place. Honestly, the best UI is often no UI at all. All right, Section 5, the Tools Selection Framework. This is the blueprint for architects. Let's synthesize all these hard-learned lessons from the source material into an actionable blueprint for your next project. How do you actually make these critical decisions when the pressure is on? When you're in the heat of a project, you need to rely on a simple 3-question framework to keep you grounded. First, is the requirement just a change to an existing Fusion screen? Yes? Stay native. Use Fusion UI extensions or VB Studio. Second, is it a manual process with no human decisions required? Yes? Forget screens entirely. Automate it with OIC. And finally, third, does it require a genuinely custom user experience with complex cross-system data that standard Fusion absolutely cannot deliver? Listen, only when you can definitively answer yes to that third question do you validate building a custom application in Apex. Finally, Section 6, avoiding future technical debt. This is the ultimate consequence. Let's bring it all back home and talk about why rigorously applying this framework matters so much and what happens if you choose to ignore it. This quote from Biz Insight Consulting really hits the nail on the head. When you misapply tools, that debt compounds. Think about it exactly like a high-interest credit card. An unneeded Apex app built where a simple native Fusion extension would have worked means you now have a completely separate codebase, and that codebase has to be regression tested, patched, and upgraded through every single quarterly Fusion release cycle. It is a heavy, expensive anchor to tie to your IT team, and it drains resources that really should be spent on innovation. Apex is incredibly powerful, for sure, but the goal of solution architecture isn't to just blindly swing the biggest hammer you have. It's to apply the right tool for the specific job. Knowing the difference before a single line of code is even written, that is where you earn your title as a solution architect. You've got to have the confidence to explain this to stakeholders who might be aggressively asking for what's familiar to them, rather than what's actually sustainable for the enterprise in the long run. So I'm going to leave you with this provocative final thought for your next Fusion implementation. When you look at your architecture blueprint, ask yourself the hard question. Are your decisions actually solving today's problems efficiently, or are you just financing tomorrow's technical debt? Thank you for joining me on this explainer. Keep your architectures clean, hold the line on technical debt, and I'll catch you on the next one.